This is, again, me, Nick, and this is, again, The Come Up. Olivia Jones!
Hi! I'm so excited.
How are you?
I am doing well. I feel like the world is on fire, but I know who I am, and I know what I'm doing, and I'm going to keep moving forward and to take care of myself.
Yeah. Who are you? What do you do?
I am an arts administrator. I'm an artist. I'm a teaching artist. I am just an empath who channels all of her energy into sharing that through creative means.
Yes.
And also sometimes by sharing it through other means for folks who don't operate that way. I have the benefit of having both the creative, like the right, left side, both jutting forward at all times. And so that's exciting. I've currently work at Arena Stage as their training programs manager, helping to facilitate any of their programs for pre-professionals like fellows, interns, all of those great things. Right now, we're about to start a virtual summer camp, which is so exciting, as well as virtual master classes for folks who are, above the age range of 8 to 15. But for adults, for professionals, for mid-career professionals, for folks in college, there's a little bit of something for everyone. So I'm really excited that we're finding ways to connect with people in meaningful ways, to keep moving forward, to find elements of normalcy, and to also have the tools that they need to process what's going on in the world by sharing it creatively, if that's what they choose to do.
You and I are similar in the sense that I think that we both worked in these large theatrical spaces in a lot of very white rooms. And we're very loud about it. What have you learned from kind of growing up in theater and learning in theater in this backroom way that a lot of folks don't see?
Yeah, everything comes from somewhere. There's a room full of decision makers, and sometimes the people that you see that are at the most front, they have limited power. They have a limited amount of choices that are autonomous that they can make. And so that things are really top down in our industry. Like, that's just the function of everything outside of maybe a few collectives that really do like that ensemble shared leadership, but those are few and far between. There's someone who has to be in that space to make things happen.
Yeah.
And as much as I love performing, I love singing, I love all of that stuff, there's someone back there making a budget that without them, you don't have costumes, you don't have lights, the bills aren't even paid to open your building. So that's when I decided to shift to the back end, when working on the front end was just not quite enough.
As she mentioned, she's a former star. That was Elephant and Piggy in Omaha. What are ways that you think that theater, specifically for young audiences, can continue to use these popular titles, but feel like you can still be equitable and inclusive and diverse in the way that you tell these stories and the way that you use them to engage with communities, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that a really good example of that is Disney's Frozen. As problematic as Disney is, they were like, just because they're from Arendelle doesn't mean they're inherently white. That's not the thing. It's not the same way where Tiana is attached to a specific culture where her being Black is a part of the story, similarly with Jasmine, other countries, what have you. But there are some stories that just are cast that way the first time, and people can't shake it. And I think TUA has the opportunity to do that for so many people. You can continue to incorporate new writers so that they become the next Mo Willems and they become those household names, where I think that's really exciting, where more people are recognizing that their libraries at home or in their classroom aren't diverse. And not even that it was intentional, it's just white kids and animals. And now they're realizing like, oh, okay, like I could be better where like the only Black characters in my kid's life are from Lion King. Like that can't be it, where they're not even voiced by Black people. And so I think that
it just takes place in Africa. They're animals. Like that's the thing. Like that is not a Black show. Like it's like just because the sun rose and we spoke Swahili does not mean that it's a Black. That's a whole other
Yeah.
conversation.
It's a whole other thing, but you got to take the wins where we got them because Lion King will never close.
Period. It's going to be open
Get
forever.
work. Get that
Please
work.
get that check. Get the check. There's also this narrative that audiences aren't ready. They're not ready for diverse people on stage. And I don't even know what that term means anymore.
The stereotypical theater goer at sort of like Broadway theaters, at large residential theaters, are the folks that people talk about when they say that they're not ready. And those are often older white folks who are like generationally, they were around before I was allowed to just kind of be around. they were here during segregation. And so the start of the residential theater movement was also a part of that. There were a few theaters that sort of were really proud and were really open to folks, but there was not very many. And you get that attachment to a place, to a thing. It's your thing, it's your place. It's my country club, it's my theater, it's my golf course, it's my neighborhood, whatever it is. And those are the folks who are resisting change because it was something that was theirs and no one else's. And that they want to keep that privilege for themselves. There's so many rules. There's so many things that allow the art form itself to be a gatekeeper. If you go listen to classical music, you do not clap between movements, but you don't know that unless you're in the club, unless someone told you. And so if someone goes that's never been, and they're a person of color, they're a person of a different economic background, and they clap, people will shame you, and you don't want to be there. The conversation about people not being ready is a generational conversation that takes place in a different way in DYA, where like the parents or grandparents, those are the gatekeepers, versus like in terms of like adulthood. Like, is this space welcoming? Do you feel like you belong? Even if you have the best staff in the world, even if you have a diverse show, even if you do all those things and your admin team is great, if your audience is mean to someone else who's there, they don't want to hang out. I've had people look me up and down sideways to say negative things to me when I was working events at Roundabout that they were enjoying. Like, those are things that I planned. Those are things that I helped coordinate. And that was a space where I belonged quite literally because I was being paid to be there. And because of my reaction to a dance number or supporting people that I've been talking to or working with, or even just the fact that hair is often in a natural state, that people will treat you differently. And that made me feel some type of way, and I know that I belong. I can't imagine if it was your first time and you go out of your way to go to this space.
What's one way that these companies can be like, this is a step that we're going to take?
You can have no more unpaid internships because they're straight up illegal. Make sure that you pay minimum wage, that maybe you offer housing, maybe you offer scholarships. I've never been able to even think about applying for an unpaid internship. And I come from a space where I have a lot more privilege than other people. Theaters have decided that they belong in spaces that have to do with any sort of like criminal activity, criminal justice. There's not a lot of thought about the institutionalized racism within a space, as well as just like the structural racism of the United States, as much as it's just like, what a great thing. I took these 13 kids, and instead of them having to do manual labor, they had to create a theater piece. How wonderful, rather than putting that energy towards educating a school district why they shouldn't have police in their schools, and instead they should hire your teaching assistants. If you create a program for people of color, actually hire people of color. If they can't get there or accept the role, they made it so far, then why don't you change the barriers that don't allow that to happen? Using at risk, which is a horrible phrase to describe young people who live in Black and brown communities that were created because of redlining and a lot of different clauses and the way that you're able to purchase houses. Diversity, inclusion, equity, such buzzwords. Great things if you do them and you know what they mean, but until then, you're just using folks for money the way that a corporation does. We're not even touching your stage yet. We're touching the things that make you a nonprofit theater.